All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another training. Today is on how to handle objections. All right. So objections. So what is an objection? That's obviously someone has a reason why they're not going to buy from you. And it's your job to kind of uncover every objection that they have in the hopes that you're going to get the sale. And the more objections you overcome and the more comfortable the client is now at what you have to offer, then they're more likely going to buy from you. So the objections is the key really to handling the sales process. So here's some things for you to look at. There are usually never more than 6 objections. Now, Colleen will tell you that this is, sometimes there are some, but she made it a personal competition with herself to overcome the maximum amount of objections she can. I think she was up to 26. So, but generally you're not going to hear more than 6, and generally you're actually not going to hear more than 3. So it depends on what stage they are with their decision-making process, or where they are as far as their thought process. So you're not going to handle more than 6 objections. So here's the action plan. Colin, you want to go over the action plan?
Yeah. For the record, he took out a restraining order on me after that, Paul. But no, it's usually 6, so you can kind of anticipate which 6 are going to be. But what we're saying, do you have the PowerPoint?
Can you not see it?
No. Does anyone else see it?
Did anyone else? I'm like, why? All right, hold on. I shared the screen. Let's see. What about now?
Okay, yes.
Oops. Okay.
Okay, so like Rob said, there are usually never more than 6 clusters of objections. So you list, so I always just say, like, before I start prospecting, so you should generally, unless you're doing like 12 plus deals a year, you should be spending most of your day prospecting various forms. And that may be the best, obviously, as we said thousands of times, is really in real life time, either like via phone or door knocking, or just direct communication, outwardly just reaching out to your sphere, literally just having conversations and asking for business. But I always say, like, it lists the things that might come up. So obviously, if you ask, hey, if you're interested in selling right now, and they say no, you could ask, like, well, when do you anticipate it? You just kind of want to keep the conversation going and feeling out, getting to the, if they were, when is it going to be? And if it's not soon, then you can always just ask, then do they know of anyone? Or did they absolutely love where they are? Have you ever thought of moving somewhere out? Didn't you want to go to Alaska? Just knowing a lot about your clients and following up with them is pretty much where it would come down to. A lot of objections, really, I find most are from cold leads. So anticipating really the type of objections you're going to have with the cold lead, and the best way of finding their objections, if you can't think off the bat, is just picking up the phone and calling them, and then writing it down and seeing what you have a response.
Yeah. So what she's really saying is you want to play defense before you go on offense. So if you can come up with a list of common objections, as far as, I'm comfortable where I am, or my brother's mother's sister's in real estate, or I'm looking here, but I'm also looking in Tampa, whatever the common objections that you're getting with the people that you're talking to, start making a list of them. And then that way you can start developing a response to those objections. So you want to make sure that the more you have objections, the better it is, because then you'll be comfortable handling those in the future. So you want to try to come up with, if you haven't had those objections yet, or you haven't got to the objection process, you want to make sure that you start thinking, okay, what are some common things that I heard in the past, and start listing those out, and then develop some answers per objection that you can come into. But as as I said, Colleen has probably handled every single objection that is going to be thrown at you. So if you are struggling coming up with that list, ask her. She'll be happy to go over it with you. All right. All right, so some tools you can use to handle some objection is testimonials and tell a story. So, you know, if you just had a client that went through a similar situation, talk about it. Say, oh yeah, you know, I'm so sorry to hear that, you know, you're getting divorced, or hey, that's a great opportunity that you have to be next to your grandchildren up in Maine or wherever. You know, and say, I just had a client that just had that same thing, and here's the result. We were able to sell their house in 3 weeks and got them close to asking price. And now they're able to transition to be up with their grandchildren sooner, when they really thought it was going to take an extra 3 to 6 months. We get it done for them in about 4 weeks. Is that something that would be interesting to you? So to see how the power of the story is really going to get them to where they want to go, and they can picture themselves, and you've already now shown them that you've had the result that they're looking for. So that can be a very, very powerful tool by telling stories and using the testimonials. And if you have a testimonial from that client stating that story or something similar, well, now they're reading it from someone else's objective that they used you, it was successful, and it did exactly what you needed it to, they needed you to do for them. So this is a way to show proof. It's a powerful tool. So definitely start developing those stories and using them during your objection handling. Anything to add, Colleen?
Yeah, just if anyone wants to like kind of interrupt and say like a common objection that they've been having, and if they need help with answering, like does anyone have like a constant objection that they keep facing and really not know what to say in response? Bernadette,
Take yourself off mute if you have it.
The few that I find to be common are, my cousin sells real estate, my daughter-in-law sells real estate. And so I've read, and I really haven't had, you know, I mean, the chance to practice it as much, but it's easier to fire me than it is someone you love. It's a very emotional process to buy a home. You want someone who's not involved emotionally in the transaction, but, you know, can remain neutral and, you know, that sort of thing. So I mean, that's kind of a good way to get rid of that, but it is very common to run into people who say, I already have a family member or a friend who's a realtor, especially here in Indian River County.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that is a very common objection that you hear. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you know, you say, well, are you comfortable firing your brother? And some people might jokingly be like, yes, I am. But in reality, you can say something to the effect a little bit more elaborate of saying, well, hey, listen, you know, the real estate is it can be a very emotional transaction. Do you think that your brother, your sister, whoever is going to be able to remove their emotions out of the transaction once it becomes difficult? Because if they can't, that's going to potentially really derail a deal. And where I'm a third party, I have no emotional or financial interest in this transaction. I'll be able to handle it. Usually what we find, handle it better than someone who's emotionally attached to this home. So what we can do is we can offer your brother a 25% referral fee so that he's still getting paid. And then you don't have to worry about the emotional piece being a problem further down the road. How does that sound? So now you've taken care of the financial piece, so the brother's still getting a cut. They don't have to worry about emotions running wild and deals going sideways because of it. You know, so it's just kind of taking. And what I would do in that situation is before I even go into that speech, is find out exactly what their goal is for the brother. Like, well, we just want to make sure he's taken care of. Great, then the 25% should take care of it. You know, and that's generally that's all about. They just want to make sure that he's getting some money back. But yeah, is there any other common objections people hear?
Well, you can also say with that one too, is like you say, well, I can't comment on your performance of your family member or friend, but I do real estate full time. Like, this is my full-time career. I love what I do. I go above and beyond for my clients. And she say the average realtor is part-time and only doing 3 to 4 deals a year, and then you say I exceed expectations, and it's just really kind of you want, that's an opportunity of just kind of showing that you're more valuable than whoever they're thinking about using, whether it be family or friends. So it's just to say, I can't say, that's great. Like I find in this profession, everyone, it's 1 in 10. There's 1 in 10 people are real estate agents, but most of them aren't full-time like I am. So that's kind of just how you can separate that and just indicate that and then say, I love my career. I love real estate. I love helping my clients. And so if I can help you anyway down the line, please keep me as a consideration. Here's my card.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually, because you're playing that card of, hey, listen, I know I personally wouldn't hire my brothers for anything, because I know that they work hard for people that are not their family, but I know that they'll get a little bit lackadaisical if they know that I'm not going to fire them off the job. Does that sound similar to what your family goes through? And then put it back on them, and they'll be like, oh yeah, actually, I know he's not going to do much, and he's just going to put it on MLS, and he's not going to be afraid of it. So that does make sense. So then you now put it in their family, and they have, you're not telling them what it is, but you're putting that thought in their head. They're thinking about it, and then like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Let's move forward with you. All right, so we'll go to the next one. Some more tools is you can interpret the objection as a question. So like we just talked, here's some good things. It costs too much. That's a good question. Why does it seem to cost more than you expect to pay? So throw it back on them. Make them think about what they're actually trying to talk about, because generally it doesn't cost too much. They just don't see the value in it yet. Why is the value not there? So this could mean your commission split. This could mean your, just the cost for them to sell a property and what all that meant to, they might just not know. So by them just saying that, it's kind of a cop out to say, I just don't really, I'm too scared. I don't know what this is about. I don't know what it's going to cost me. I don't know what I'm going to walk away with. I have no idea what this process is. Can you please, tell me more? So that, that's something, but by throwing a question back, you're now going to be uncovering the objection. You're not just, going to be like saying, oh, it costs too much. Well, then you're assuming that maybe they're talking about your commission split. So now you might be talking about something that they didn't even think about that part. They were thinking about all the other costs, moving and closing costs and all this other stuff, buying a new property, whatever it is. So you want to ask the question so that you uncover the real objection. We can get it cheaper somewhere else. We talk about it all the time of some ways that, so that would basically mean someone's offering, let's just say someone said that we can get it cheaper somewhere else. Someone's offering, 4% commission. Well, okay, what are they doing for that 4%? Are they offering XYZ services, whatever you offer? Are they putting, your house on Facebook? Are they doing open houses? Are they door knocking the neighborhood? Are they cold calling for your listing? Are they sending out invitations? Whatever you do, whatever your specialty is, ask them that, because a lot of times those 4% brokerages aren't even putting up pictures. So they'll come, they'll take a couple of pictures with the cell phone, they'll pop it up there, and half the time they're even putting in their little remarks, call listing, call homeowner for tours, and they're not even setting up the tours. So you're not getting anything for the 4%. Whereas, an extra 1% really, but 2% going each side, you're getting professional value that, is not going to be just by saving you 1%
Right.
or 2.
I usually say when you spend less, you get less. So, and when you're talking about selling the biggest asset that you own, would you really want to go for less? Would you really want, and what does that even really mean? Do you know the difference between what you're getting for 6% as opposed to what you're getting for 4%? Really, I don't even think they really even know. So it's just like really just breaking it down and compare and say they're just going to not respond to the calls right away. It's not going to be a priority as they're 6% with. So you could miss out on a few buyers because they're not going to be responsive. You could miss out on opportunities because you're paying for less or paying for less service. So it's just constant. It's just just answering their questions, but showing them it's really this is black and white. You're gonna get less when you spend less.
Right. But by asking this question, why does it appear that our competitors sell similar products for less, is really going to make them think about it and have to answer that question.
Sure.
And then you're prepared with what Colleen and I just spoke about and going in with, well, this is what we do. Is that what they do? So you're kind of there now with the question. They're gonna present the problem that they have and what they're really talking about. We can get it cheaper somewhere else. They think we do the same thing as someone just for more money. So by asking the questions, you're getting the real objection out there. All right. Give a good reason. So treat your customers, treat it as if your customer is asking you to eliminate the direction. So I can't afford it. Actually, show me how I can justify investing. Show me how I can afford it. That's really what they're saying. So they're not saying I can't afford it, because obviously if they couldn't afford it, they wouldn't be looking in that price range, but they're really wanting you to help them justify how it can be possible. So we hear this a lot of times, like, oh, and we just went through this, not too long ago, but the house is on for 250, we brought it down to 230, but they don't want to go over 220. Well, they were actually pre-approved to go over 220, but for some reason in their minds, they can't, because they just don't know the process. They didn't know about equity and, renting versus buying. So as soon as you kind of show them that objection, it's not that they can't afford it, because they can't afford it. That's the mortgage company saying they can't afford it, but for some reason they're not. So asking them the questions and, really understanding that they really can't afford it. How do you justify it? Help me with that. And that's really what they're looking for you to answer. So you kind of have to be like a little super sleuth and really understand what they're really asking, what they're really telling you, and not just taking their statements at face value. Complement the objection. So you definitely don't want to disparage them by saying, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, obviously here it says right here, you're approved for 240. So you can afford it. I don't understand what you're really talking about. So you don't want to do that. You want to call, I totally understand. It's a scary process, whatever it is, and then go into your problem solving. But you want to make sure that they feel good about themselves. They know that they're in control of the process. And this is as the PowerPoint says, that's a good point. I'm so glad you mentioned that, and then go into it. And then you want to listen carefully. You want to really hear and understand what they're saying. And then you can clarify if there's any uncertainties. And that's where you can kind of go into those targeted questions of they're talking about a general subject, and then you can target the questions to get really specific with what they're looking to actually say. And don't ever assume that you know what they're going to say. Really listen, hear them out. Even if they're babbling, let them babble, because the more they're talking, the more they're giving you information, and listen for that information. So that way you are now identifying all their problems. The more they're talking, the more problems they're telling you about. You're identifying those problems and you're formulating in your head the solutions to those problems. Because ultimately, if you solve all their problems, then you can say, well, these are the problems you told me. These are the solutions I gave you. So there's obviously something I'm missing here. And now you can go more further into it. But if you solve all their problems, they will buy. Objections or conditions. So conditions you can answer and remove. So, it's a genuine reason. Like we go back to, I can't afford it. What do you mean exactly? So, and then you just sit there and let them talk. Creativity. So show options available. So you're now really, as we said, you're solving their problem with the solution that you have as their agent. So whether that's marketing, whether that's, negotiating skills, whatever, and then you're bringing those testimonials and those stories to kind of solidify all of that. That's where that creativity of handling the objection comes in. Finding questions. So you definitely want them to get emotionally involved in the decision process and get them excited about it. So, Colleen and I had this conversation the other day. See, I'm going to tell you a story, a testimonial to kind of throw it all together. Colleen had this conversation the other day of different approaches. So, for her, there's when you have a client that's kind of on the fence, they might be a little scared, a little timid, and you go in, and I think she actually learned this from JT, but you go in and you say, hey, great news, we got them to come down at 220, even though we know that they didn't want to go over 215, so they're not going to be too excited about going to 220 initially. But we know as agents that an extra 5,000 over 30 years is not going to do it for the house that they absolutely lost. But if I come in and I say, hey, I know you want to be at 215, they're coming back at 220, but I think it's a really great deal. It's a different conversation. So now they're excited about it. They're emotionally invested. They want the property already. It's just a little bit more than they wanted to spend, but we know that they're okay with it and they're going to be comfortable in that range. And you come out excited. Now they're excited and they actually get something that they really love. And you've already uncovered all the objections of they can't afford it. Well, they can afford it. They just don't know how to do it. But that's how you get there. So now you get their feelings involved in it. And now they're more willing to probably, take the contract at that point.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story too. Like, I had an offer on vacant land for 46. It was listed at 48. Like, and he only had like 12 hours to respond. And he's just like, my seller was disgusted. He's like, no. He's like, I'm like, do you want to counter? He's like, no. He's like, I don't even want to deal with them. And so I reached back out to the other agent, and I was just like, no, seller's not really willing to do anything less than 48. And then they came back at 48. And then that's why I was like, he's so mad. He didn't want to counter. I was just like, how am I going to present this to him? And that's where JT was like, be all excited and just be, hey, out of nowhere, he just came back and he's like, all right, full price cash out for 48. This is what you wanted. And the guy was just like, I was so excited on the phone. And he's just like, okay. Like, but if I didn't go in like that, he wouldn't, I don't think he would have accepted it. It really, if you just make it like, it's like a really, like, congratulations, I was like, congratulations, you got what you wanted. And he's like, all right, let's do it. Like, that's literally his response. But if I had gone any less energetic, I don't know if it would have been under contract.
Definitely.
It's just, yeah, you got to read the situation, I guess.
But yeah, that's a good story and a good depiction of what we're talking about here. Polite and respectful. So you definitely always want to be polite and respectful. Got to remember, it is not our decision, it's their decision. So whatever they decide, you have to be okay with as their agent. Treat every objection, kindness, courtesy. It doesn't matter how crazy it sounds. You're probably going to get into a situation at some point where there was $1 over and nope, I don't want it. That will happen. That has happened, not with us, but I've heard those stories where something so crazy, so minute, so small has, blown up a deal, and you don't know why, but as an agent, and you're like, well, I can't see why they're moving on. And we want to just shake them and be like, what is wrong with you? But you can't do that. You've got to be respectful. You got to be polite. It's their decision. It's their money at the end of the day. It's their choice of whether they want to sell that property or buy that property. And we kind of just have to be there as their consultants and not be upset when they make a decision that we don't agree with.
But also, I say also put on the foreground, like when they have everything that they want and they have everything that's on their list, and they're just afraid to pull the trigger. That's when you can just say, listen, it has this. So it has that big yard for your little dog, Rusty. It has, that kitchen that you wanted. It's the square footage that you like. What else is holding you back from preventing you from going? This is your ideal property per your wants and needs, and just put that on. You make them. Just throw it back at them, because some people really are they'll ride the waves with you and not ever buy, and that's just so annoying.
Right, and that's where you have to, and that with those clients, you need to figure out by line of questioning again. So that's when you would go back, like Colleen just said, and you'd say, okay, hey, listen, I'm not understanding, this decision. So I totally respect it, and I understand, and let's move on. But this hits all your check marks. What else are we missing? What did you not like about this house? What's making you not want to move forward with this transaction? And then let them answer that. and let them move forward in their head, because she's absolutely right. Sometimes, especially in markets like this, buyers will make 5, 10 offers and they're not expecting to get it under contract because they know that the market's crazy, and they're just kind of like, oh, if we get it at this price, great, but they're not really thinking that they're going to get it. And then all of a sudden, boom, you have an approved, accepted contract, and they're like, oh crap, what do I do now? So that's where you kind of have to then go back to that drawing board of questioning as to, okay, well, what's the real issue? What's the problem now? And then finding that solution and getting through there. So, that you never, yeah, like Colleen said, you don't want to like just let it go. This hits all your check marks. We found this property. You love it. You made an offer. This is all everything you said you wanted. So what is it that about this house that you're not liking or whatnot? And let them talk, and then they'll talk themselves back into it, or they'll talk it out of it, and you'll get the real objection. And sometimes it's just something changed in the process of from when you started the process to now, where they lost a job or something happened that they don't really want to talk to you about, but now they can't move forward, and now you're uncovering if you're wasting your time moving forward right now if you have to put that on hold. So people do get embarrassed, and pride does come in, and things do happen. So now you're just handling an objection that you just didn't know of a life change. So that's something that keep in mind as well. That's why you want to be polite and respectful. All right. So we only have about 1 or 2 minutes left. So we'll put the rest of these slides on the next week's. I want to open it up for questions now, because there's still about 6 or 7 slides. It's all about the same feel, felt, found method. So does anyone have any questions, since we only have about a minute left? I want to stop sharing. Okay, I have no questions.
Wait, is anyone like outwardly like door knocking and cold calling right now? So what are you saying, Bernadette? What's your script?
It's not scripted for each door. I mean, I prepare, but I don't practice, because everybody that opens the door is different, and you're going to have to adjust on the fly for that. So I just introduce myself, let them know I'm a neighbor here. I happen to be a realtor. I tell them about the recent sales. It usually digresses into complaints about HOA. So I just kind of listen and take it all in. And I say, if you know anyone, if you have plans in the future, please keep me in mind. I don't do a hard close. I don't go for the juggler or anything. And off topic, I just want to share with you guys, sometimes on beaches, there's these 5-minute videos that people make, and you can glean some good information from them. In fact, a lady did an objections one, and she said, usually when they say your commission's too high, I want to give you 1% instead of 2%. Then she said, you say, look, I'm the one putting up all the risk too. I'm going to pay for a photographer. I'm going to use all my time. I'm doing this without getting paid, not knowing if I'm going to get paid. So you kind of put that on them too. Like, these are all the things behind the scenes that I'm going to give you and earn my commission for. So I find those helpful. But anyways, the door knocking really for me at this point is relationship building, because as you know, somebody else owns this area. And it's hard to let people know that there's other competent realtors out there that can, are happy and live here and are, intimately knowledgeable about the community. So
Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't get objections, because I don't try to, say, are you selling? Will you sell tomorrow? I want to be your realtor.
Well, I'll say one. I don't know if you guys know Kia Saad. He's like a really good coach trainer. He told me actually a really incredible script that I'm doing. So I'm looking up stats and for whatever zip code. And so it's 32960. I call and I say, hey, listen, my name's Colleen McCallum, your local realtor in Vero Beach. And I'm just reaching out, let you know there's recently 6 sales in the past month. We have a ton of buyers looking to move into the neighborhood. So I'm canvassing on your behalf to see if you ever had any thought about selling your property. And I swear to God, I get like 1 potential seller for 20 calls. And I can't even tell you, like, I literally, someone just texted me back. He's like, he's interested in finding out how much his investment property, like he's a duplex is worth. Like it's the whole canvassing and on their behalf to find out if it's like you're not soliciting, you're just trying to help your buyers out, but they forget about that you have buyers and then you're asking for the listing. Does that make sense? It's a beautiful script. It really worked. I'll even send it to you guys exactly what I'm saying. And it works. It really does. Where is it?
Perfect. All right. Well, we want to thank Sophia again for hooking up that PowerPoint. She did a great job. She's been with us for 3 weeks. I don't know. Are you going to be here next Tuesday? Are you back? When do you leave, Sophia?
I leave next week back to France. So yeah.
So we just want to say thank you for her. She's been with us for 3 weeks and she's done a great job. And we wish her the best of luck in France and back at school. So
Yeah.
she's got some big goals and big dreams. So we're looking forward to seeing what you do with it. All right.
Yeah.
But have a great, if you guys have anything, we're here for you. Let us know and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.